Yo boys, DDP here. So I wasn't originally going to do this, as I was going to leave guides for the War Within when more content's coming out, but a lot of people seem to have wanted it, so we're going to be bringing you a Windwalker Monk guide today, for Season 4. We're going to be going over things like your talents, your rotation, gearing, and what to buy with your Bullions, and a bunch of other things. So let's get into it. Alright, so first let's get into the talent section. We're going to have a look at the general tree first. As I always say, you should go over every single one of these points and just give them a brief look at what they actually do so you understand what's going on. I'm obviously not going to cover every single one of them as that would take way too long. But the general ones you're going to want here for like DPS are going to be things like Fast Feet and Ferocity of Zuen. The rest of them are just going to be utility and defensive play. Ones that I like are Fortifying Brew. This is mainly just for more Touch of Death damage. If you're able to hold that for Touch of Death, you can get a lot more damage in. Defensive things that you're going to want in the general tree are things like Diffuse Magic and Dampen Harm. A lot of the other things in here are just pretty much situational. A lot of people take Generous Paw and Close to Heart, so you can take them too if you really want, but you do have to sacrifice points elsewhere to get them. Next, we're going to move into the Windwalker specific tree. A lot of this up until around the halfway, just past the halfway point, is going to be pretty much the same, other than things like Storm, Earth, and Fire and Serenity, depending on what you're going to be running, like M plus or raiding. The bottom section here is where most of the choices are made. So currently, I'm in my single target tree where I'm going to want things like Jadefire Stomp and Jadefire Harmony. Other things will be like Fury of Zuen, so you can spawn more Zuens. But let me just show you a quick difference between this and my M plus build. So the difference with this will just mainly be that I've got Seth instead of Serenity, and I've played more into Touch of Death, and you'll also be running Bone Dust Brew because you're running Storm, Earth, and Fire. You won't just have infinite chi like you will with Serenity. You can also run this build in raid fights if you want. Broodkeeper Diurna would be a really good one for this, as it just adds up the majority of the fight, and as long as you're being put on ads, then you're going to be wanting to run a build like this. It's just when you're on the actual boss itself, that's when it's going to show that you're not going to be doing as much boss damage as you would with Jadefire Stomp, etc. This is another sort of build that I'll run. This is mainly when bosses will die like really quickly. So currently in Awakened season, bosses are dying like sub 2 minutes sometimes, and when everyone gets to like 528 item level plus, you're going to start seeing bosses die quite quickly. So the what this build functions around is basically Forbidden Technique instead of going on the left side of the tree, which is all the spinning stuff. And you also get Jade Ignition and Inner Peace, but the majority of it's just for Forbidden Techniques, so you get 2 touch of deaths rather than just one. Another thing I suggest is generally just making a bunch of loadouts if you can, just for certain boss encounters, or maybe you're doing a lot of M plus and you need certain things to deal with affixes or dispels, like you might want detox for one dungeon, maybe you want improved paralysis for another dungeon. So like that's what I generally tend to do. I haven't currently got as many as I used to, but I've got a fair few for this is just mainly for raiding. So before we get into this next section, you're going to want to take most of this with a grain of salt, as my character is going to be different from yours. It's going to be a general breakdown of what you're going to want. The best solution to this, so that you 100% know, is just going to want to get raid bots and sim your character. For that, it'll just tell you what you're going to need to be running, because every character is different. Next, we're going to look at enchants. So first up, we'll look at the helmet, which is Incandescent Essence. This comes from the Imidrisil raid, looks like a quest line, so you're going to want to go in there, kill Gnarl, you'll get the quest, and just kill a bunch of bosses and you'll get the enchant eventually. Cloak, you're going to want Graceful Avoidance. For your chest, you're going to want Waking Stats. Wrists, you're going to want Avoidance. For your belt, you're going to want a Shadowed Belt Clasp. For your legs, you're going to want a Fierce Armor Kit. Rings, you're generally going to want Devotion and Versatility, but this might change depending on your stats. And for your weapon, you're going to be wanting Sophic Devotion. For our gems, we're pretty much always going to be wanting Zen Malagite, but again, depending on your stats, you're probably going to want to check on raid bots if this is your best, but the majority of the time it will be. For embellishments, we're going to be running double blue silken lining, as currently just stats are just way too strong as they usually are towards the end of the expansion. And mastery is also a very good stat for us. So for our stats, again, you're going to probably want to check raid bots for this, but I'll give you a general breakdown of what you'll be wanting to look at. So our best stat will be versatility, then mastery, then crit, and then as little haste as possible. Now let's have a look at what we're going to be wanting to spend our bullions on. First up is Jurun, Pillar of the Elder Flame. This is our weapon that's also going to have an on-use effect, 2.5 minute cooldown. It's very strong on single target and slightly works a bit better on AoE as it scales, so that'll be probably your first option. The next will be Ashes of the Imbecile, which is our trinket, which is an on-use, supplements our burst quite well. Third will be Nelfarin's Call to Dominance or Grief Torch. It kind of depends if you're raiding or M+ing, but I personally prefer Nelfarin's Call to Dominance just because of the stat bump that it will give when you're pressing your cooldowns. After that, it's not going to be as impactful, but the last two are Seal of Diana's Chosen, which I've picked currently as this week, and then the last option you'll be wanting is Voice of the Silent Star, which is the Sark Cloak. No, this probably is your last one that you should be picking, just because it's got a negative effect on it. It's not that good, and it also reduces touch of death damage due to the Cloak Knife and Stamina on it. So our new tier set, as of this Awakened season, is the one that we had in Season 1. So the 2 set reads, Fist of Fury increases the damage dealt by your next 2 Rising Sun kits or Spinning Crane kicks by 40%. Our 4 set reads, Fist of Fury now instead enhances the next 3 Rising Sun kicks or Spinning Crane kicks and enhances your kicks. Increase the damage of your next Fist of Fury by 7%, stacking up to 3 times. So this will just play into you doing a lot of damage through your Rising Sun kicks and your Spinning Crane kicks. You're going to want to find a weak aura for this so that you can track how many of the buffed Rising Sun kicks and Spinning Crane kicks you have left before you press your next Fist of Fury on a single target or AoE, depending on if you're running Serenity. This is going to happen quite naturally anyways, but it's nice to have outside of cooldowns mainly. For macros, there's not really that many that I use, apart from using things like with Serenity, I'll use my trinkets, my pots, etc. You can put your weapon in here as well, the Durin weapon. That'll do all the fire damage. It doesn't actually scale with any sort of stats, agility, etc. though. It'll only scale with targets. And sometimes you'll be wanting to use this on like damage amps. So if there are fights or parts of dungeons that you know that will have damage amps, you're going to want to probably take it off and then use it separately instead. Right, so on this next section, we're going to be going over the rotations. First, we'll look at the single target playstyle, which will be with Serenity and Jadefire Stomp. So what I tend to do before the pull, at about 4 seconds, I press Expel Harm. I'll press Tiger's Lust just to get in ASAP just before like 2 to 1 seconds. And as the bosses pull, I'll put my Summon White Tiger statue down. Then you'll run in and press Zuen, Tiger Palm for the Sky Touch effect, Serenity, Strike of the Windlord, Rising Sun Kick, Fist of Fury, and then from here on you're just going to be looping your Rising Sun kicks with blackout kicks in between. You'll also be cancelling the Fist of Fury if you note that you have a Rising Sun kick up, so keep that in mind. But also on like sort of dead GCDs where you don't want to be dropping your hit combos, and you notice you have like half a second left for Rising Sun kick, you're going to be spending them on Spinning Crane kicks instead. Make sure that you're also keeping up Jadefire Stomp, as that's obviously a 12% damage increase to the boss or whatever you're hitting at the time. So make sure that's up before you're even pressing Rising Sun Kick, Fist of Fury, etc. Then when you come out of cooldowns, it's going to be a lot slower, so you're going to want to be pressing Rising Sun Kick as much, making sure that you have Jadefire Stomp on your target, Fist of Fury wherever you can. You also have to make sure that you're not overcapping on chi or overcapping on energy. So there is quite a lot of things to be thinking about outside of cooldowns. As a general rule of thumb, outside of cooldowns or even in cooldowns, I'd say you'd want to be making sure that you have Jadefire Stomp up on your target. Then you're spending your chi on Rising Sun Kicks, making sure that you're not overcapping again on chi or energy, Fist of Furying, and then spending your chi on Blackout Kicks, etc. Now, if you're wondering if you get Dance of Chi-Ji procs, which obviously will happen sometimes, maybe you'll get 3 inside your cooldowns, maybe sometimes you'll get none. You're going to be wanting to try to press these on like the dead GCDs that I said about, where you have pressed the Rising Sun kick, pressed the Blackout kick, and now you're kind of stuck in that weird situation where you don't have anything to press. So that'll be where you'll be pressing your Spinning Crane kicks. So for the next build is going to be the Storm Earth and Fire with Bone Dust Brew. As I said, this is mainly going to want to be used in M+, but you can use it on certain raid fights as well. So how you're going to want to be using your cooldowns here is similar to what you do before, where you'll be pressing Expel Harm before pull. I tried to put a Chi Burst in there as well, just because you don't have Serenity anymore and you're not got infinite Chi. Then you're going to want to pull with Zuen. Then you'll want to press your Storm Earth and Fire, Tiger Palm, Strike of the Windlord, Tiger Palm. Now this just means that all of your Storm Earth and Fires have put Mark of the Crane on everything, and this is kind of where you can just dump everything. You're going to be wanting to make sure that your Storm Earth and Fires are all on one target now, so you're going to be pressing the button again. Then you'll be throwing down a Bone Dust Brew, and then just Fist of Furying, and then from here on you'll be pressing Spinning Crane Kicks, and filling in with either Tiger Palms, or Expel Harms, or even Blackout Kicks, depending on how much Chi you have. Once your cooldowns have ended, it's just going to be a game of trying to keep up Mark of the Crane on 5 targets, as that's the cap. You're going to be pressing your Fist of Fury on cooldown, and then just spinning Crane Kicking with the buff up from your 4 set. Now also note that this build will have 2 charges of Storm Earth and Fire, compared to Serenity it will only have 1 charge. So what I generally try to do with this is I'll try to pair it with Bone Dust Brew as much as possible. This just means you're looping cooldowns together, and generally will just result in better output. But you want to also make sure that you're going to have a Storm Earth and Fire charge for your Zuen. There will be times where maybe this isn't as beneficial to do, but in majority of situations it will be. Now you'll notice in the clip that I'm obviously not pressing Touch of Death, but with Touch of Death you're going to be pressing it as soon as possible when a target hits 15% at least. But you're also going to want to try to press a GCD in between if you've got double Touch of Death. So the ideal situation would be a target hits 15%, you'll press your Touch of Death once, and then you'll press like a Tiger Palm or Expel Harm or whatever, and then you'll press a second one. You will run into situations though where stuff's just dying way too fast, like there'll maybe be 5 targets alive, your Touch of Death, and by the time that you've got your next GCD ready, like the targets are almost dead again, so by the time you'd press Tiger Palm, maybe you'd have 2 or 3 targets left on that Touch of Death, which at that point is just not worth it. So there will be situations where you'll just double Touch of Death. It feels bad, and I know a lot of people have said about it in my comment sections on my videos, but it is still worth to do if you know the targets are going to die too quickly. So if you want to know what to do with the Bone Dust Brew, like M+/Cleave build on single targets, this is what you're going to want to do. It's going to be pretty similar to Serenity, apart from you're obviously not going to have infinite Chi. Also ignore the fact that my Storm Earth and Fires just went off on another target on pull. That's just what they do because they're silly like that sometimes. So on pull we're going to be wanting to do the same thing where we're pressing Expel Harm, do our Chi Wave, put our Tiger statue down. We're going to be throwing down Bone Dust Brew first, then we're going to be putting Tiger Palm again for Sky Touch. Then you're going to probably be pressing Storm Earth and Fire, Thunder Fist, Rising Sun Kick, Tiger Palm, and then you're going to want to be pressing Fist of Fury, and then here on out again, we're just going to be trying to get as many Fist of Furies and Rising Sun Kicks in as possible. And then, yeah, we'll just be building with Tiger Palms and Expel Harms. And then if you have too much Chi, you'll be pressing your Blackout Kicks to try to get them back as ASAP. And yeah, if you get your Dance of Chi procs, then press them whenever you can, as long as you haven't got Rising Sun Kick up. I think we're done here, boys. If you feel like I haven't gone over something as much as I could have, then just leave a comment and I'll try to get back to you ASAP. Other than that, if you've enjoyed, then leave a like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.